Welcome, I'm Sweet Chef Jen, and today we are going to make brown butter crepes, which are great for savory items and for sweet items. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need to scald the milk. So I've got 2 cups, I'm adding my 3rd cup in. We're going to put this onto a medium-high heat, just under boil, and then we're going to brown some butter. Let's head to the stove. Okay, so for browning the butter, which I've talked about in previous posts, but we're going to talk about it again today. The whole idea behind it is adding flavor. So what happens is the milk solids toast and they create this really nutty, wonderful flavor. So something that's a little bit more basic in flavor, like a crepe, which is really just milk, eggs, and flour, really gets some wonderful flavor from adding brown butter to it. So what I'm doing is I'm going to cook this butter low and slow until all of the bits start to brown. Again, really important to do it low and slow because if it gets too hot, too fast, your butter will turn black and burned, and that is not good flavor. Look at all those beautiful brown bits. Keep this on a few more minutes. You're taking the milk to 180 degrees. If you don't have a thermometer, it will look like small bubbles around the sides of the pan and a little bit of steam coming off. Okay, so then the next part is we have our flour in the bowl and we're going to add our sugar. You saw I picked it up off the scale. I hope everyone's gone out and grabbed a scale because this recipe is in grams. I'm going to use a whisk. I'm going to whisk these together. I have heated up my milk and then I let it cool. So this is room temp to cold, and I'm going to slowly add my milk into my flour sugar mixture. The whole idea is I just don't want the flour to be splashing up everywhere. So if you do it slow and steady, it gives it time to absorb, the flour has time to absorb the milk that's being added. So we've added all this guy in. It's very liquidy, so don't be surprised by that. That's the intention. So now we're going to add our eggs, and as previously mentioned, I like to crack my eggs into a separate bowl because I would hate to get shells into my mixture. So just like the milk, we're going to add our eggs one at a time, and we're going to break them up as they go in to our mixture. This is so beautiful. Give it a nice solid whisking. So now I've added the brown butter to it so you can see all those beautiful little brown bits in here. I'm going to let this, I'm going to refrigerate this overnight before I strain it. You'll see in a lot of recipes it says strain right away. Don't do that, ever. Always let it sit and soak in flavor, because if you've put something that's very flavorful in and then you immediately strain it out, you've defeated the whole purpose. So I'm going to cover this with plastic, refrigerate it overnight, and then tomorrow I'll strain it and we will be making crepes. So we've let our crepe batter sit in the fridge overnight for 12 hours. I've taken it out and I've given it a really solid whisk. You'll notice at the bottom that the flour has gotten much thicker and settled, so that's why we're going to give it a quick whisk. And then because we had all those brown butter bits and because the flour has thickened up, I want to make sure to strain it first before we head to the stovetop. Your pan needs to be hot. Take a tiny bit of butter, run it along the bottom of your nonstick pan. You'll hear a small sizzle. Then you're going to use about half a ladleful of crepe batter. Pour it towards the top, swirl it around, and keep swirling till it starts to set. It should be paper thin. Make sure to use tongs that are coated in silicone so that you don't scratch your nonstick pan. I like to push along the edges of my crepe as it starts to set, so that way I know when it's finished. Once it's set, flip it over round one. Your edges need to be nice and golden brown. Make sure to keep it nice and flat and even in the pan. Let it set for another minute or two, then it should be finished. Flip it out. You want to make sure it's nice and golden along the edges. Happy Saturday, happy Sunday. I hope you are enjoying some family time. After this crepes recipe, one of the things that I do is I always have a big stack, and you can reheat them in the oven. Keep them wrapped in some, like a damp paper towel or a damp towel so that they stay nice and soft and don't get too hard in there. And then you could set up a nice bar for family and friends to come and grab. A little whipped cream, maybe some fresh berries. This one's for my family, so we've put a little bit of chocolate inside, and we're going to do a little chocolate over the top. However you want. What's fun about crepes is they can be made a bunch in advance and then enjoyed when you're ready to sit down with the whole family.